Okay. So our opening statement.
Alright, so
Then the next thing we had was original decision.
yeah, well, first on opening statement, we're just going to talk about the differences and similarities of what our groups had.
That needs to be in here.
Yeah, I would just put a little bit. So just I would say like,
Group E.
yeah, Group E and
Chose 5%.
5% across the board. And then the other group was 7% in the two categories, right? In grocery and seasonal.
Group E chose 5% across the board, and then
The other group, what is group what?
Group D.
Group D. They took 7% for grocery and seasonal.
Yep.
And then as far as which one's group E? Is that?
Was the 5%?
Yeah, okay, so they are the ones that said they did not do the television advertising, correct?
I think both of them.
Both of them wanted to do some kind of TV.
No,
I thought
the one
neither of
group,
them.
no, the one group wanted to do TV, but then I could have swore the one group said that they did not want to they didn't think about TV because that was
Group
brought
D
up.
wanted to do TV for sure.
Yeah, and that was the group in the.
It's in their PowerPoint.
That was the group in the right, yeah. So the one group, I don't think they talked about it, but they didn't say their main focus was TV. I think they were just talking about advertising. But as far as us and the other group, we did want to focus on advertising through the television. But did they bump theirs up to the 1%? I believe they matched the 1%.
Group D did.
Yeah, instead of keeping it at the 0.89% like we had. So I guess something to consider would be.
I don't know.
Something to consider would be if we want to bump.
Because they did
The very beginning of their slide they had.
for advertising. Because they.
Yeah, here advertising increase.
They both
But the 1.1% is that other.
Yeah, that's
number. It's
just
not
their
the-
operating cost. That's not.
Oh.
That's
So
not
that's
that.
what they're using though for
Yeah.
their advertising.
Yeah.
But so something to consider would be if we want to bump it up to the 1% to match the competition, or if we wanted to keep it at where we're at, and then we would have to back that and support that as a why. So if we're going to keep it down, because she did mention that television advertising would probably be more expensive,
Right, so
and she said to consider back in the day, you know what I mean, back in this time when they were doing it, radio wasn't as inconvenient as or is downgrading it or not downgrading, is downturning as it is now. People actually used it a lot, so. That's another thing to consider, and then we should consider if we want to keep ours at 5% or if we want to raise it more, 7% or even higher, because like she mentioned in the meeting, we don't know if 5% is going to be enough to pull customers in.
Because we'll still be the highest price.
Yeah, we are at 7% in the most reasonable prices, and the second lowest is at 11%, but then Harrison's and Missouri Mart are 36 and 34, so we rank very low. But the one thing we have that on our side is convenience, and that seems to be a leading factor, so we need to build around that.
She
But-
also said look at the other factors because one group talked about the quality of the meat.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was just about to say.
Okay,
They,
yeah.
we need to take a look at the actual what the people shop for, because that's a huge breakdown. And that'll give us some reasons on why. So, example, like we have for the best overall variety, we're at 2%, which is by far the lowest. And then, but at best meat quality, we rank third out of 4. But we're right in the competitive 18%, around the 20 and 27. But the variety of meats, we're right in the same exact kind of category, but still competitive. So if we were to add more variety of meats and with a decreased cost, it might be able to pull customers from Harrison Mart opposed to them going there. So that's something to look at. And then, like me and Paige had mentioned earlier, our bakery is the best bakery that out of Ottawa ranks all tier. So that's a promoting factor for us. So I think we could use that by promoting something along those lines about how, we could start with getting people in our bakery, but we need to enhance it and make it more. So I think a good start would be just trying to figure out ways and percentage markups of, the varieties of these different kind of categories to pull in the consumer, because we have 3 different, now we can look at the 3 different store locations. It tells us a little bit about which one of the locations kind of does better in what category. So, yeah, so like our market share has gone down over the years, which is definitely obviously a problem, and that would probably have to be done with like the quality of our stuff, our meats. But here's
I thought I sold the first thing that was declined.
Talking about our
The market share.
competitors.
The market share.
I think we're at 22. I wrote it on the top one of those cases. Is it with the market share?
Yeah, back
It's-
to that. Like it's
They have it in
decreased,
here.
but it's still.
It's right here. the exhibit 2.
Yeah.
We're at 23% of the market share, but then it talks about how, like, with certain percentage, I wanna say it was like mid-20 percentage comes from out of town to come
Yeah.
shop at our stores, so if they're coming from out of town, how do we pull the people from in town, and that's one of the convenience
Well, and I
factors
think
there.
like going to the TV, that's really gonna grab a lot of people from out of town.
And I thought so too, but then like we had said, like, is it like the one group had mentioned, they don't know if it's a swelled town, you know, with like people who are like really interested in TV advertisement and stuff like that, so, I mean, do they watch a lot of television? What's like the predominant vehicle where they
Yeah.
would, so is radio, you know, it could be a town where it's like a little
But-
smaller town where
But that
radio.
argument could go for radio too, like are they listening to
No, yeah, exactly, and
radio?
that's why I think we still push with the TV, just because it hasn't
I
been
do
done
too,
yet. and
because
It's like,
even
who
then-
doesn't watch TV?
Well, yeah,
See,
exactly.
but she was said time period. But
But
even
that's
in that time
2002.
period,
Yeah,
1995
it's
to
still-
2002, there was still, and even then
TV
there
was becoming
wasn't like
big.
you couldn't record your show, so you had to
Yeah.
watch the commercials.
And that's why I feel like we should definitely still focus on
True.
TV, but
That's a
it,
good
That-
point.
it's gonna cost more money to advertise TV, so then that's why we should consider bumping our 0.89% up to the 1% in
Yeah,
sales,
I
because
agree.
we can't, how low we are now, we can't afford to really decrease our advertising expense in any other category, because we had mentioned in our presentation, we wanted to decrease in radio, and that's when she said, take a look at the time, because, you know, we said something about, like the internet, but the internet wasn't that big back then and whatnot, so if we go back and look to where
So you're
TVs.
saying keep ours at 0.89%?
No, I
To
think we
go
need to,
up to
yeah, I
1%.
think we need to bump to 1% because we can't afford to cut any other level of budgeting, so if at least if we
Okay.
raise it, we can competitively compete, cause like she said, TV is gonna be expensive. So
Yeah.
we're gonna need to raise our advertising expense for sure.
Okay.
And then what I was saying about the different breakdowns, like our 3 different stores, it kinda tells you like what they, you know, what they're good, what they kinda concentrate on in approximately 4 hours and whatnot,
7 minutes.
so I would just keep rolling with that. I think our 2 main focuses would be that.
Where?
Do we want, okay,
Um,
The
on-
3 stores.
Yeah, our page 505 and 504 talks about
Okay.
our 3 stores.
But what were you
Real-
saying in regards to that though? Sorry.
Go
go ahead, finish your thought.
I was just gonna say that's one we can look at of how we're gonna cover, because we gotta prove why 7%. So if we're gonna cover our costs by that, you know, I mean, just one of the reasons we're doing 7% is because we think that 5% is not gonna pull enough people in. It might not, like she said, it might not be a big enough number to even be like, oh, they're decreased prices by 5%. What's that?
So are you saying like are we doing that for all 3 stores or like certain ones?
No, I mean,
Is
it's
that what you're saying?
high values our whole chain, so we'd have to increase it no matter what. The 3 stores are all in the same, so if we increase our everyday, if we implement everyday low pricing for high value, it's for all 3 stores. I'm just saying in the sense of
Okay.
stores, like we can, in the Missouri Mart or whatever stores that we do better in, or what page is this, 505? Yeah, this one right here, so,
506.
yeah, so it tells us like, right, our 3 stores, Northview, West Main Street, and then it tells you like what we do good in those stores. So one of them, they had an expansion in the mini deli, to promote their items and delivery better. It talks about the comparison of their 22% of West Main Street stores come from people living beyond the city limits. So how can we pull those people in? And that would by just be increasing the prices more and whatnot. And we'll have to think of ways.
So going back to like, we started talking about differences, but we didn't talk about any similarities.
Between the groups?
Yeah.
Well,
Like all I have is group E chose 5% across the board. Is there any others?
You could talk about the TV advertising and how Group D.
Group D was the one.
Yeah, I would think. Group D, we had some more similarities with Group D than we did
Yeah,
with
then-
Group, yeah.
because Group E, the questions that they focused on weren't the questions that we focused on.
So they're a little different.
Because they have a lot of stuff that like what we considered fluff. Like they talked about like the target market and they did like a lot of like competitive analysis and all that, whereas we didn't do that.